It's not one star, it's two. The dog star. Sirius binary system.
I use it to navigate the oceans.
I've travelled far like you. Space can be very lonely. And the greatest adventure is having someone share it with you.
If we get out of this, I'll take him back to England. He can't stay with me. I'm not the father he needs.
Who are you, Henry Avery? Respected naval officer, wife and child at home. How did you end up here, wandering the oceans with a band of rogues?
I've set my course now. Nothing I can do to alter it.
People stared at it for centuries and never knew. Things can suddenly change when you're least expecting.
Hello and welcome to Who Watches Who, a Doctor Who podcast with me, Matthew, and as always...
Hello, I'm Scott.
Hello, Scott. This week we are covering... I've forgotten the name of it. It's a pirate episode. What's it called?
Curse of the Black Spot.
Curse of the Black Spot. A very generic title for a very generic episode of Doctor Who. Not as it's fine, we'll get into it. But this episode first aired on the 7th of May 2011, which, Scott, disgustingly, was 10 years, 11 months and 4 days ago at the time of recording. We're coming up to the 11th anniversary of this episode.
And in a month, everybody is going to be partying. Everybody's going to be celebrating this wonderful episode that everybody remembers.
Every year. Do it every year. It's the Curse of the Black Spot Day, 7th of May. Can never forget that. But it was an interesting day in the world of the cinema, Scott. Could you guess as to what's number one at the box office in May 2011?
Okay, my guess when it comes to like May, I'm always thinking Marvel movies, and I think it's Thor around this time.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, yeah,
absolutely right. It is Thor. Probably one of the weakest Phase 1 Marvel films.
Definitely is, in my opinion. Yes.
Yeah, it's.
I think I like the Incredible.
I think it's.
I like the Incredible Hulk more than Thor, even though it's been a while since I've seen either movie.
Incredible Hulk's fun, but yeah, I've seen that one the least as well because it's owned by Paramount still.
Yeah,
because they own Hulk. Yeah.
Or it's Universal. I think it's a bit of both, kind of. It's very strange.
Either way, it was before Disney bought Marvel. What a wild time that was.
Yeah, remember when Disney didn't buy everything? Amazing times.
I'm pretty sure they own this podcast, or they're going to.
That sounds right, actually.
Yeah. Well, actually, we use Anchor, which is owned by Spotify, so it's only a matter of time till Disney buys Spotify. I'm telling you.
And also Anchor.
Pirates. Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. I've got both songs for the US and the UK here. The US one, I didn't know. Maybe you'll know it. It's got some really big artists. The UK one, now I did know, and that was a flashback to the past. But we'll start with the US one. Could you hazard any guesses as to what would be number one in the charts?
Mambo number 5.
Close. No, it's E.T. by Katy Perry featuring Kanye West. It is a song that definitely exists. It's generic pop with some generic rap. I'm not a fan of either of these artists, so
it's a song I only know because whenever I hear about it, I think, wait, that's not the alien.
I'm pretty sure Kanye West has a line about eating ass in it, so fun for the whole family.
Classic Kanye.
But thinking of fun for the whole family, the UK number one song. It was everywhere, Scott, in 2011. It was mega memey. It was in all the schools. you know it. You 100% know this song. Flash your mind back. 2011. How terrible was culture that this was our number one song?
Was it LMFAO? I know it was around this time, but probably not.
It was Rock. It's Party Rock Anthem by LMFAO. Yeah.
I was literally just talking about this song with somebody yesterday, and I was like, "That song sucks."
Wow, it was in the air. Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. It's
Coming up to 11 years since that song blessed us.
Whatever happened to that band, eh?
I think they just broke up. I think it was a uncle and a nephew, weirdly.
Was it?
Yeah, if I'm remembering rightly, the two, because they looked very similar. I always thought they were brothers, but they're like uncle and nephew, which was weird. But yeah, I think they just kind of stopped making music, or maybe they didn't. I'm just making stuff up. But
you know what else I was speaking about yesterday? You know the music channel Viva that was around for a while. Just that's like early 2010s kind of.
No, I don't know Viva.
Vibes.
I if I had a music channel on, it would just be Kerrang. Which even then, that's very much of its time as well, isn't it? Music channels. Who even uses music channels anymore? You know.
Grandpas.
And then we've got the On This Day in History part, the like deep dive. It's my favorite part, and there's two occurrences here where history is being rather, let's say, romantic. But we'll start first. In 1429, the English siege of Orleans is broken by Joan of Arc and the French army. Nice. Good on them. In 1867, the Swedish chemist Alfred Nobel patents dynamite in England, which is the first of 3 patents he would receive for the explosive material. Dynamite gets patented in the 1800s, and then we flash into 1939. What a fun year! Germany and Italy announced that an alliance known as Rome-Berlin Axis, and I'm sure everything was fine.
Oh yeah. But sounds like very peaceful times.
Yes.
Yeah.
If we then flash forward to 1945, World War II unconditional German surrender to the Allies is signed by General Alfred Jodl at Reims. So, the same day that the Axis united in 1945, they surrendered in World War II. I thought that was a nice bit of history rhyming.
Damn.
History rhyming coming up as well for the second part in almost. But in 1952, the concept of the integrated circuit, the basis of all modern computers, is first published by Jeffrey Dahmer. So nice. Computers are coming around. And
Jeffrey Dahmer, more like Jeffrey Smarter. Am I right?
Yeah, because computers. And then we're going to flash into the year 2017.
Oh no.
And this is where it is extremely relevant to news that came out today. Emmanuel Macron wins France presidential election, defeating Marine Le Pen. Now, today, they've just done the first round of voting again in France, where Emmanuel Macron has moved into the second round, and his opponent, Marine Le Pen, again. So history is repeating itself. Will he win again, or is she going to win this time? I hope she doesn't win. She's extremely right-wing.
I know nothing about French politics, but sure, go the dude that's in right now.
Yeah, the dude that's in right now that I know nothing about other than he's like kind of handsome looking. I don't know. He's a French man, isn't he?
Oh, yeah, French are just oof. Oh, wee. So French, I know. Baguette. And just like that, we lost all our French audience.
Yeah, we lost all of our French audience just like that. Amazing. But that is all I have for the news segment. Very brief little flash through history there. An interesting time to be alive. History doesn't stop and everything happens twice.
Well, you know what else happened on this day in history? Curse of the Black Spot aired. Hurrah!
Known as the greatest episode of Doctor Who ever to air.
Oh yeah, just a masterpiece from start to finish. But yeah, Curse of the Black Spot came around because the crew just wanted to do a pirate story, which, fair enough. It hadn't been really done that much in Doctor Who apart from like 3 other times, so, you know, why not do it a 4th time?
Yeah.
So Stephen Moffat wanted every pirate trope, and it really shows. He wanted a ghost ship, walking the plank, a stowaway in search for adventure, the ominous presence of a black spot, storms at sea, sword fights, swinging on ropes, and a good-hearted pirate and a mutiny. That's every pirate trope.
Yeah, it is every pirate trope.
And in this episode, I think it does come across as like a checklist. Just oh yeah, now Amy has to swing on a rope for 5 seconds.
See, I was too distracted by the really strange dialogue throughout this episode, and the strange performances. I think everybody's bad in this episode. Like I feel like, maybe we'll change my opinion as we're going through. I feel like Matt Smith's trying too hard at certain moments. I think Amy is kind of just blah. Rory has a few moments that make me actually laugh, but. Yeah, and the rest of the cast are so forgettable.
Yeah, we'll get to it, but there's points of this where I thought Matt Smith was giving like a Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean kind of performance, which is kind of interesting, but we'll get to, we'll talk about it later on. But the writer of this episode is Steve Thompson, and he came to Stephen Moffat's attention in 2004 with a play called Damages. I know nothing about this play, so... so his first TV job was to write two episodes of Doctors and 1 episode of Upstairs, Downstairs. Again, haven't seen any of these shows.
Never even heard of Upstairs, Downstairs.
It's about people walking up and downstairs. So his big claim to fame kind of started in 2010 when he wrote 1 episode of Sherlock every season, which obviously just... 3 episodes then. But yeah,
but that's a third of the series,
yeah. Were you into Sherlock at all?
I was super into Sherlock right until they did the Christmas special that was in the past, and then it turned out to all be a dream, and then I went, I'm done watching this show now.
See, when Sherlock initially came out, I was kind of too young to really care that much about Sherlock. I mean, season 2 came around, and I was like, I'm kind of done with Stephen Moffat with Doctor Who, because I think at points he was trying to be too clever, and it just got to a point of ridiculousness. So I never got into Sherlock, but I hear that show plummets.
It is phenomenal for about 3 seasons. And then I stopped watching, and I heard it gets really bad after that, and I have no desire to go back to it. It also suffers that each episode's just a film.
Yeah, it's 90 minutes each episode, which is kind of insane.
Yeah, it's a hard show to... I say it's a hard show to binge. Surprisingly, it's not. I think it's paid, at least those first 3 seasons. You get sucked in really quickly, and all the casting is perfect and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman are excellent actors, but we're too busy for a show now, so it's never going to return. Yeah. that's a recurring meme of a show. So following being hired for Sherlock, Thompson eagerly asked for a Doctor Who episode, and of course he got Curse of the Black Spot. After Curse of the Black Spot, he wrote Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS. Do you remember this episode at all?
Yes, I do. I remember being really excited by the concept of that episode because I liked the idea of exploring other parts of the TARDIS. And then I remember, and I've only seen this episode maybe once or twice, but I remember being really disappointed by it.
Yeah, I've only seen it once, and I just remember being disappointed by it as well, because the budget really isn't there to show off the TARDIS that much, and I don't think the story itself was interesting. Or it was zombies.
Was
there zombies?
Yeah, it was like weird, like burnt up zombie people, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah.
So sadly, like 2 unmemorable episodes in a row for him. After Journey of the Centre of the TARDIS, he wrote Time Heist, which I remember being one of the best season 8 episodes.
Yeah, that's Capaldi's first season, isn't it?
Yeah. Not that I remember too much about Time Heist. I don't remember it since it aired.
I remember it had that cool looking alien.
Yeah.
And I remember it being a strong episode in Capaldi's first season as well.
But yeah, after Doctor Who, he kind of became an executive producer and wrote more. He wrote Jericho, Leonardo, and Vienna Blood. Of the 2 shows he created the latter 2, and I haven't heard of any of them, so... So kind of a quiet career. Usually we don't talk about directors, though, but this was directed by Jeremy Webb. Jeremy Webb is probably like Doctor Who's most prolific director, I would say. I would say, yeah. So Jeremy Webb came to attention in 1997 when he won a Lloyd's Bank Short Film Challenge, which was broadcast on Channel 4. In the 2000s, he directed 4 episodes of Grange Hill, 9 episodes of Casualty, and a ton of miniseries. And in 2008, he started on Merlin, and he directed 15 episodes of Merlin.
Oh wow!
Which we've talked about Merlin in the past.
We've talked about it. Yeah, it's a bad show. It's a show that I watched as a kid and have subsequently gone back to try and watch 3 or 4 times and always give up because at least those first 2 seasons are almost unwatchably bad.
Yeah. I think I've only seen the first season and it's okay. It's just kind of like background television, but it's nothing special at all. It's
apparently it gets incredible, but I just can't get through it. So
apparently it ends with Merlin in the modern day, which is very
awesome.
strange.
Yeah, what a great choice. Maybe he ends up going into the future and he ends up going onto a bus that you remember the Doctor Who episode
Yes.
that he's yeah.
That was a great episode of Doctor Who.
It was a
and
terrifying episode of Doctor Who.
I can't wait to cover that eventually. We've got so much Doctor Who to cover. But in 2011, of course, he directed Curse of the Black Spot in Doctor Who, and he also directed The Wedding of River Song, which
okay.
I remember being like one of the best visually distinctive episodes of that Moffat era. Just like the CGI shots throughout the new London, it's been kind of like
yes,
destroyed by time.
It's an episode I very vaguely remember, but I do remember like it's like the mishmash of all of history in London at once. Yeah,
it was a fun episode. I don't remember it being that good. I think it fell apart at the second half, but yeah, it's a really solid directed episode. So after Doctor Who is where the fun part comes in. He directed 2 episodes of Downtown Abbey, 1 episode of Fear the Walking Dead, an episode of Legion, 3 episodes of Punisher, 3 episodes of Runaway, 2 episodes of Altered Carbon, 4 episodes of The Umbrella Academy, and he's currently directing 4 episodes of The Last of Us, that HBO show based on the video game, which I'm kind of cautiously optimistic about it.
he's moved up quite a bit in the world from Doctor Who. He's gone from big project to big project. With The Last of Us, I mean, the game's already a TV show, so who cares? You know, I probably won't watch it because I'm only vaguely interested in that game series, and I've watched the game series. So the TV show really doesn't appeal to me much. Although it's got a good cast, Pedro Pascal and stuff in it, so you know, maybe it'll be good, or it'll be terrible, or, and this is probably most likely, it'll be a generic zombie show.
Yeah, probably the latter. There's too many zombie shows. Like, Walking Dead alone has like 1 million shows.
Fear the Walking Dead, which is one of the like 15 spin-offs The Walking Dead has like 10 seasons. And I was like, what? How does it have 10 seasons? It just came out. No, it didn't. It didn't just come out.
I remember when it came out, and I was excited about it because it kind of told new stories within the Walking Dead universe. It was like all about a family. I mean, the family kind of split up, and it just became The Walking Dead again. I was like, what's the point of watching this?
Now they've got a new spin-off show, which I'm sure will turn into just The Walking Dead again.
We're doing a show with Negan and Maggie, even though Negan killed Maggie's husband, which is like, why are they going to spin off?
Well, watch the show and find out. Watch the show and find out. Yeah,
and there's also a Rick spin-off. Yeah, it's bizarre, but yeah, this guy is a really good director. I would presume he's done big work.
Yeah.
So researching the script, Steve Thompson he began reading his son's pirate books. He found Captain Henry Avery, born in Devon, and one of the most notorious pirates. In 1694, he took over a Fancy following a mutiny and attacked many vessels, one of them being the Grand Mughal ship, which gave him the haul of £600,000 and given him a massive bounty on his head. He vanished 2 years later, where people presume he lived out under a different identity until his death. So, of course, Doctor Who does do his thing where there's like a moment of history that wasn't written down based on a person, and we're like, okay, this is perfect. They went on adventures with a doctor, like Agatha Christie.
Yeah. And it leads to one of my favorite lines in this episode, when the doctor's throwing all the treasure out the window and the guy's like, hey, no, those were, this dude from India's. And the doctor's like, oh, good. I thought they might have been yours. It was a good line from Matt Smith.
Yeah, that was a line from Matt Smith.
What he did say that line in this episode. Yeah.
I watched this episode I don't know, 8 hours ago. Barely remember it. It's not that memorable, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a fine. It's filler episode, isn't it?
Yeah. So the whole mermaid element came from folklore he heard in a pub at Zenor about a boy named Matthew whose singing attracted a mermaid.
Yes,
Matthew fell in...
I can do that. Yeah, all the time.
Matthew fell in love with a mermaid and followed her to sea and was never seen again.
Until right now.
Some say they can still hear him singing to this day.
La la la.
Yeah, that's I can see why you attracted to mermaid Matthew.
Oh yeah.
Wonderful. So draft 1 of his script was very different to what it eventually turned into. The doctor was going to take Amy on holiday to Devon, like when she was a child, accidentally arriving 300 years too early. Avery would be raiding a village and searching for his wife, who would be stolen by a siren, and the siren would be trapped in a mine and killed at the end.
That is significantly different than the episode we get.
Yeah, this was when they weren't sure if they could secure a ship for the episode. So they abandoned this idea entirely when they realized, we can film on an actual boat. And the boat... the boat of this episode is actually a real ship. It's the Phoenix of Del Quay, which was built in 1929 and was docked in Cornwall for this episode, which is... It's a very authentic ship. I really like the set. Well, it's not a set, but it's an actual ship, is it?
Yeah, it's good. It falls into classic Doctor Who issues of, I think the cinematography is terrible, and you don't really get to see much of the boat. The stuff you do see is good. It also suffers that it's set at nighttime, so the boat's dark as hell anyway.
I think it helps I think some of the cinematography feels a bit claustrophobic, which kind of helps for the episode, I would say.
Sure, yeah. Or you could do big wide shots and make it feel isolated, because it's just them alone in the ocean. There's 2 ways of doing it. One way is more expensive.
So this episode was supposed to be episode 9 of the season, but it was eventually moved because Moffat was worried that the first half was too dark. So the episode it replaced was Night Terrors, which, if you remember Night Terrors, it was an episode
Not off the top of my head.
It was the episode with the little boy having nightmares, and there was a creepy doll.
Wait, yes. Hang on, there's a lot of episodes of Doctor Who with boys having nightmares. Is it the one? Is it the one with the thing that's under the blankets, or is that a Capaldi episode?
I think you're thinking of Listen. Yeah.
I remember. Is it the one with the creepy dolls in the dollhouse?
I think so. I think it's that one.
Okay, that was a pretty decent episode, if I'm remembering correctly. The other episode I was thinking of, I think, is a Capaldi episode. It could be a Matt Smith, late season Matt Smith, but I think it was Capaldi, where it could be Listen, where there's this lump in the blankets.
I'm pretty sure that was in little boy Danny Pink's bedroom.
Possibly.
You remember we went back in time and met him as a child for some reason?
I think so. And there was this lump in the blankets, and then they were like, what was that lump? And the doctor was like, I don't know, but it's gone.
It's never explained.
Yeah, a bad episode. Yeah. All the Danny Pink stuff sucked.
Do you remember when his grandson came in for one episode? He was like an astronaut or something.
And he looked exactly like Danny Pink, and it's never brought up again. And people are like, how does he have a grandson? Because he dies. And you're just like, shut up, don't think about it.
Yeah, it was Danny Pink was not a good arc. I mean, he got hit by a car. That's the best part of his storyline.
Yeah, it was what a disastrous storyline Danny Pink was. Jesus.
But yeah, this last bit of trivia for this episode. It was originally called The Siren, but it was changed to Curse of the Black Spot, which was a reference to Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, which is, yeah, a better title, I would think.
I like the name Siren better.
If a siren is okay, but when you hear it, you're like, police sirens?
When I hear Curse of the Black Spot, I forget the title a second later.
Fair enough. But that's because it's you.
It's because it's a boring title. At least in the Siren, it's like, it's punchy, you remember it. But
Curse of the Black Pen Ink that burst in your hand.
the Curse
That's a
of
better
the
title.
Don't Get a Cut on your hand, otherwise you're going to get attacked by a siren monster.
But yeah, that's all our trivia, which is reasonably short for this episode. There's not much to talk about.
Yeah.
It's a very fillery episode.
Yeah, it's very much slotted in early season, not going to talk about much of the overarching story, still teasing stuff. Just a regular quote-unquote adventure with the Doctor.
Hell yeah.
Let's begin.
We have to send this ship back into space. I mean, imagine if the siren got ashore. She would have to process every injured human.
What about Toby?
Sorry. Typhoid fever. Once he returns, it's only a matter of time.
What if I stay with him? Here. The siren will look after him. I can't go back to England. What home does he have now, if not with me?
Do you think you can sail this thing?
Just point me to the atom accelerator.
So we get our cold open for this episode, and it's a bunch of pirates, shocker, coming up to the pirate captain being like, yo, I cut my hand, there's blood everywhere, and we see it's this tiny little scratch on his finger, and they're like, I don't know if he's going to survive this, and comedy, ha ha ha, which I thought it's a pretty fun joke, isn't it,
Sure. I
It's
don't think
fun.
there's any laugh.
It's fun.
It's fun, but I don't think there's any like laugh out loud moments. In
I
this
had
episode.
one line that genuinely made me laugh, and I don't remember what it was, but we'll see if it makes me laugh again. Because I remember there was one line that actually made me go ha. But
Yeah, that's how you laugh. You go ha.
yeah. I mean ha. But he's got this cut in his finger. The guy's like, "Yo, you're dead. Bye." Siren's coming for you. The guy starts to freak out, runs outside. We hear sirens singing, and he gets munched. The rest of the crew come outside. They hear a bang, and they're like, "Oh my god, the monster's come back. We've got to go kill it." Which interesting here. If the back of the on one of the ship things, there's just a pentagram, and it never gets brought up again. And I was like, "Why is there a pentagram on this ship?"
I presume it's just. I don't know. I don't know.
It was such a weird. I was like, "Oh, maybe they're doing like some satanic ritual," because I didn't remember the plot of this episode because it's so forgettable. I was like, maybe they're doing some sort of satanic ritual thing, and the ship is cursed, or these guys are all secretly Satanists or something. But no, the pentagram, which is very visible in a shot, it's red and everything else is brown, and it really catches your eye. Plays into nothing. Don't ever think about that. Like, why have it on the ship? I don't understand.
Just going off of you saying you don't remember this episode, I don't remember this episode either. Apart from I vaguely remembered the twist, which is like one
same.
thing I didn't need to remember because
I remembered the twist, or watching the episode, I was like, oh wait, no, I remember what happened in this episode. But if you were to ask me before watching it just recently, what happened in the Curse of the Black Spot, I'd be like, what episode's that?
It's not a bad cold open though. It's fine.
It establishes the plot, doesn't it? They open up this hatch where the bang is coming from. Matt Smith pops out and he goes, yo ho ho, or do they not actually say that there? Pause for laugh.
Yeah, you were saying earlier this is a very quippy episode, and I just feel like Stephen Moffat on a weekend or just a Saturday night decided, okay, this needs to go here. We need more laughs at this moment. It just reeks of Stephen Moffatisms.
It's strange. It feels like for the first 15 minutes or so, it's quips left, right, and center, and then they just kind of stop.
Yeah, that's because the Chinese Stephen Moffat ordered came.
But after we pause for that laugh, we then cut into the intro credits, and it is some intro credits that give me heavy nostalgia. I don't know what you think about these intro credits. It's the stormy vortex intro with the thunder and lightning really prominent in the music.
I think we spoke about this almost a year ago when we did the 11th hour, which is insane to think about. Nearly a year of this, but
Yeah.
it's not my favorite intro. I feel way more nostalgia for the Russell T Davis intro. But
Same. I enjoy this intro though a lot. I think I like Matt Smith's second intro better though, the one where his face showed up. For like 4 episodes.
Yeah, the second one is definitely better. But yeah, this intro feels kind of flat to me. I'm not really sure why. Just the composition of a song in general. I don't feel the oomph of watching Doctor Who.
Yeah, maybe so much with the song. I think the thunder, when the thunder kicks in, that really helps build up the oomph for me. It's also the best logo Doctor Who has had since coming back.
Yeah, the logo itself is great, especially the bit in the middle where it's the TARDIS.
Yes, that's
really
the
works
best
for me.
part. Yeah.
Do you remember in Series 7 where it was the same intro, but it was applied with Movie Maker filters, and every episode it was like different colors and different textures for the font. It was terrible.
I don't remember that. At all.
I'll see if I can find an image of it. Yeah, I can't find anything, but yeah, it was shit.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll cover season 7 episodes at some point, and see it. It's, you were saying before we started recording that season 6 for you isn't the best season of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I think it's genuinely almost hit for hit.
Give me a
season
second.
6.
Doctor Who series.
Just scroll down on iPlayer. That's all there.
But I'm on a different page.
Silly man.
The opening two-parter and the Possible Astronaut Day of the Moon were fantastic.
Yep, amazing. Curse of the Black Spot, mediocre. Doctor's Wife, amazing. Rebel Flesh and Almost People, it's a fine two-parter. I think it's too long. I think it's too long.
I hated this two-parter.
Really?
I did not like it at all.
Oh, I didn't hate it. I remember being like, oh, that was long. Good Man Goes to War, loved it. Let's Kill Hitler, I know you hate it. I adore it. I thought it was so much fun. Night Terrors, as I said, spooky doll people, what's not to love. The Girl Who Waited, I think I remember...
I think Girl Who Waited was like one of the best episodes of this season. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It's the one where Amy is left behind on a planet and she turns really, really old.
That is an amazing episode. Yeah.
And then at the end they find a younger Amy and they leave the old Amy behind to die,
they're like,
which is...
you're ugly, old Amy. Bye. God Complex, I adore that episode. That's such a good episode as well.
Yeah, I don't remember too much about it. I think I was fine with it at the time.
I loved it.
The next episode is Closing Time, which
is also, just brilliant.
No.
That's terrible.
God, no.
Wedding of River Song, which, really fun. Don't remember much. I remember it being good, though.
I remember it being half good. I wouldn't say the season is bad. I think there's worse seasons. I think it's just a mixed bag of a season.
There is 2 bad episodes in the season for me.
I mean, it ends with the Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe, which was one of the worst Christmas specials.
Yeah, that was the Snowman one.
No, you're thinking of a Snowman.
What was the Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe? No, that was the Wood People, the Wooden People, wasn't it? Yeah, or was it? Yeah, not a good one. But Christmas specials are never that great. They're just dumb. But
just like you.
2 out of 13. 2 bad episodes out of 13 for me. That's 11 out of 13 good episodes. I'm happy with that season.
What would I say? I would say 1, 2, 3, 4. I would say 5 bad episodes. So that's, again, a mixed bag.
Yeah, five for that's like almost half the season you didn't enjoy.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed, more
again,
than 3/4.
I haven't seen this season in its entirety since 2011, so my opinions could change.
Yeah, when you were
completely.
like an angsty 13, 14 years old.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm a bit too cool for Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I only like it when it's dark.
See, I was 11, so Moffat was writing for me. Like,
But yeah, we're
back,
here
back
to talk
the
about
episode.
Curse of the
Back
Black
to the
Spot.
episode.
Hell yeah.
We get a scene inside the doctor's cabin, not the doctor's cabin, the captain's cabin, with the doctor there, where the doctor is basically explaining how they got onto the ship. Which it's some fun dialogue. It's not great, it's not super funny. It's quippy. The doctor's there being like, our sensors picked you up. Our ship figured out your ship was in trouble because you don't understand sensors because you're from the past. Ha 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 ha. And then he gets a gun in his face.
Yeah, it's very Stephen Moffat era writing. It's just this is what Doctor Who should sound like, and it's not really challenging. It's not really unique. It's just this is Doctor Who. It's Doctor Who.
I think it was Marvel dialogue before Marvel dialogue. Because right now Thor's in cinema, so we're not in Avengers quipping with Joss Whedon's writing, left and right. I feel like Moffat is doing this before Joss Whedon gets his fingerprints all over the Avengers and makes them quippy, quip, quippers.
Yeah, well, you could say this is certainly some Buffyisms.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely Wheaton-esque.
Yeah. Which we don't talk about Joss Whedon anymore. Yucky man.
yeah, very yucky man. Yeah, and also Buffy's not that great. I know you love it, but it's
we will do a Who Watches Buffy at some point.
I've tried watching. I used to watch that show when I was a kid. I've subsequently gone back to try and watch it and can't get through season 1.
As your problem, you don't watch season 1. Season one.
But if
is
I
a
don't
bit
watch
shit.
season 1, I'll be confused as to who the characters are and what their motivations are.
There's only like 4 episodes of season 1 that's important. Then you can move on to season 2. That's my advice.
Take this. I just won't watch it. We cut to Matt Smith having to walk the plank because the captain said, "I don't know who you are. You're ugly. Go walk this plank." Which, interesting fun fact about pirates, never once in history did anybody have to walk a plank. It is a thing entirely derived from fiction, which I feel like is kind of a missed opportunity on the real life pirates' part.
Yeah, I think it would be funny in this episode if the doctor's like, "Oh, what are you going to make me do? Walk the plank?" And then the pirates are like, "Walk? What are you talking about? We don't do anything like that."
Yeah.
But do you know what the planks were actually used for? Because I've heard of this, but I'm not sure what the planks were actually there for.
Keeping the boat together? I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know what they were actually for. All I know is walking the plank, not a real thing.
Maybe it's a diving board.
Yeah, probably. So we then end up watching a panto show as Matt Smith is on the plank and he's like, "Oh, everybody's laughing at me. I guess it's in the job description, Can you laugh? Oh, welcome to, have you got a hat? You're a pirate now." And everybody gives him a big round of applause and cheers. And they start saying some more gibberish to the doctor. They're like, we don't have enough room for 3 extra bodies, so the 2 guys can die. We're going to send the girl below decks. Amy calls for Rory to help, and Rory tells the pirates off for being sexist, which was a Roryism I really enjoyed. He doesn't try to. He's like, "Oh, stop saying that."
That's what I liked about Rory. He was always in the background, just contributing slightly to it.
A tertiary companion. He was a companion because Amy was a companion.
Still did more than Yaz.
Yeah. I loved Rory. I loved his dad a lot more. His dad was brilliant. But they shove Amy down the hatchway, and they tell Matt Smith that he has to, jump off and die. And he's like, hey, how come there's only 5 of you guys? It seems like the crew's really missing at this point. I guess that they're all hiding. He also, as he's about to jump, suddenly has command over the pirates, where he's like, okay, come on, more laughter, boys. And they all start laughing, which to me was like, oh, this is like a stage show. This is like pantomime, the audience is sitting at home laughing.
Exactly my fault. And it's not particularly funny either. I think the tone of this episode is kind of all over the place. This scene is clearly for comedy, but at the same time, it's like dark and moody, dramatic. And it's just like, are you trying to be funny right now? Because it feels like it's supposed to be in a dramatic film.
And that plays into another thing that I'm not liking about this episode. And normally, I'm not the one that complains about this. Normally, you're the one that complains about this. I think Murray Gold's soundtrack here is obnoxious, and it is just covered in every scene.
Okay, to be honest, I was listening to this and I'm thinking, Murray Gold's soundtrack is decent this episode.
We've completely... I like the swashbuckling themes. I think it's overused, though. It's like every scene is just wallpapered across, and it's really distracting to me.
My thing is, at least it's not the same song we've heard in other episodes. It doesn't feel like it's overused because it's just solely in this episode the soundtrack is.
I just think this soundtrack's used too much in places where it shouldn't be used. It's just put in the background to have noise.
That's fair. Yeah.
Which to me, leads into not having confidence in 1, the performances, 2, the writing, and 3, the actual, sound design of the episode.
And we also could talk about the actual shots here, because the shots are all feel kind of wrong. It feels like there's too many wide shots, not enough. It just doesn't land any of it.
Yeah, this is what I was saying about it feeling cheap. Like it's shot weirdly. It's I think it plays into maybe the lighting, because they're just kind of in a vast emptiness because they're in the middle of the ocean, but there's just light all around them. It feels artificial inherently. But anyway, they shove Amy down into this underground bit where they keep all the swords and a pirate costume. Perfect. I wonder what she's going to use those for. And then she comes out and she's like, I'm going to murder you all.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, which there was a fun exchange where the captain's like, put that sword back or you're going to kill us. And Amy's like, yep, that's the reason I'm holding the sword. Then we get into our swashbuckling for this episode, basically, where Amy is suddenly a master swords fighter and starts fighting all the pirates at the same time. She's swinging on ropes, the blades are going, and then she cuts a pirate and the guy, like, across the hand, and the guy goes, "You've killed me." Obviously we understand the overarching threat and what he's going for is just a very funny idea that, one cut in the hand, it's like, oh, I'm done, you've won this fight.
But also, seeing Karen Gillan dressed up as a pirate reminds me, remember that rumor she was going to replace Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean?
Nope.
I would have loved that, because I don't like Pirates of the Caribbean, I don't like Johnny Depp, and I would have watched Pirates of the Caribbean with Karen Gillan. I would have loved that.
I think Pirates of the Caribbean is fun. I think Johnny Depp is great. I think his Captain Jack-ness is overused, definitely. Yeah. And at a certain point in the sequels, it feels like he's not playing a character so much as a caricature of his character, but they're fun films, fun swashbuckling adventures,
I only saw the first one and I thought it was okay. I've also played Kingdom Hearts, which second Kingdom Hearts and third Kingdom Hearts have Pirates of the Caribbean levels.
Ewan's, our friend of the show, Ewan's ears just perked up from the mention of Kingdom Hearts. That nerd's playing through all of them. I think he's on Kingdom Hearts 3 now.
Yesterday they announced Kingdom Hearts 4.
I did,
is about to come out.
I watched the gameplay and went, wow, there's no Disney characters in this. This looks boring.
But yeah, today I just started replaying Kingdom Hearts, the first one, and I want to 100% it, get all the trophies.
God, I know too many losers. Kingdom Hearts it doesn't appeal to me in any way. I'm not a fan of Final Fantasy. I'm not a fan of that style of JRPG, and I couldn't give two craps about Disney characters.
Kingdom Hearts has some terrible writing, and
Yeah.
that's what makes it so much fun.
Yeah.
I love the bad writing.
But there's a rumor that there's going to be a Star Wars world in Kingdom Hearts 4.
Yeah.
So it might be I have to go and play all the I'm not going to do it though. I simply don't. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah, because the trailer footage showed some footage of inside a forest, and there's apparently a robot leg in it, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, it's Star Wars! It's Endor! We're gonna see the Ewoks." I was going to call them Wookiees. Oops.
Wow. Fake fan. Yeah, I don't care about Kingdom Hearts. I know Ewan likes it. I know now you like it. Whatever. Go start a Kingdom Hearts podcast.
We shall.
So, the characters, the Doctor, Amy, and Rory, get it explained to them that the black spot appears if you get even a slightest wound, and the siren is coming to get you. Which, they then tackle Amy from where she is, and she flings the sword, and Rory tries to catch it for some reason, and it cuts his hand. And now, oh no, he's going to die. And the Doctor couldn't care less. He starts making jokes to the Rory, being like, it's good, you're about to die, lol.
Yeah, and that kind of brings in one of my biggest issues with this episode. There doesn't feel like there's any
no
kind of
stakes.
agency.
There's no stakes. Yeah, it's like you're literally, characters are dying, and the Doctor and Amy and Rory are there being like, woohoo!
Yeah, and also this goes back to the idea of the episode. It's supposed to be an episode where the Doctor and his companions can just lay back and have fun, but also maybe Rory's going to die, which doesn't really fit in with the tone of the episode.
Yeah, it's a weird one for sure. But the siren then does appear as Rory's black spot appears as well, and we get some fun acting from Rory and some fun dialogue where he's like drunk, basically. He's like, "Oh, Amy, you're so pretty. You should dress like a pirate. Ha 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 ha. I'm gonna grow a beard." Which the only thing that I would have wanted from this little dialogue is in 4 or 5 episodes time, Rory just has a beard and he doesn't know why he wanted to grow it. He decided to like, I think I should grow a beard.
Well, Rory does have a beard in the next episode. Remember at one point
really?
where they're in the TARDIS and Rory's an old man all of a sudden. He's an old man with a big beard.
Okay. Well, I'm going to headcanon that at a certain age he grows a big beard because he remembered this pirate and he was like, yeah, no, I did want a beard.
But yeah, it's fun, I guess. It's more fun for the actors, you can tell, than us.
Yeah. It would be a fun. He's doing a fun performance that would have a lot of fun energy to be around. Just again, with the way that this episode is shot, it's like fine.
Yeah. And I think we're supposed to be laughing out loud at this, but the lighting is just like moody and dramatic, and it doesn't really fit. None of it fits.
Yeah, it's such a weird mishmash of an episode, isn't it?
Yeah.
We then get some special effects where the siren comes out of the water and lands on the boat. I feel like I recognize this siren lady's face, but I couldn't tell you what from.
Her name is Lily Cole, and she's a model, and she's sometimes an actress. I think she's in the Saint Trinian's movie, which also has David Tennant and Jodie Whittaker.
Yeah, maybe she just looks like another actor who I've seen. She's got, big eyes. But
you might be, with a description of big eyes, I think you might be thinking of Anya Taylor-Joy.
Anya Taylor, let's hang on.
She has big eyes.
Yeah, she does look like her. Yeah, I am.
From Last Night in Soho, which also had Matt Smith.
Yeah.
So we're going round full circle.
100%. Yeah, she does have big eyes. But the siren comes out and lands on the boat, and she does the of two things that she does in this episode: stand there, and then stand there some more, but red. Because she calls over the first pirate, and he gets zapped, and then calls over Rory, and for some reason Rory doesn't go over as fast, and people actually stop him. A thing that is about to come up in this next scene as well. When the pirates have to die, nobody stops them. But when Rory has to die, oh, okay, we'll pull you back, Rory, and stop you dying. We'll let these pirates die, though.
Yeah, everybody stands around as the first guy touches her, and it's like, yeah, we as an audience don't know what's going to happen.
Yes, we do. We watched it. We watched the guy die already.
Okay,
we didn't see him vanish, I guess.
Okay, we didn't see him vanish, but still. We as an audience haven't seen it, the effect of, like, with particle dust or whatever.
Yeah, we didn't see the after effects. Yeah.
Whereas the pirates should have been stopping that. Like, what the fuck? Keep a man inside the cabin locked
Although
up.
I guess at this point the pirates are just willing to accept death. You know, they locked that last guy out. So I guess that would be the headcanon. Why the Doctor doesn't step in, don't know.
But also there's a point, where Amy is trying to hold back Rory. She pushes Rory aside, and then the siren blows Amy back a couple of feet, and then the Doctor doesn't care about Rory. He instead goes to the aid of Amy, and it's like, what the fuck? Rory is just inching closer and closer to the siren.
Yeah, but then he pulls Rory away anyway, like no big deal, because Rory's really taking his time to die. Also, I think it's really strange. I think they try to explain it. Spoilers for later in this episode, but the siren is basically like a medical android helping people, and the reason that she was like pushing people away is because she didn't want them to harm the patient anymore. That sounds counterproductive to me, because if you're harming somebody, you're just going to hurt them and then also have to look after them. Why would you program the doctor, the like AI doctor, to look like a demon when it's trying to scare you away? Like, there's just a lot of logic jumps you have to make for the twist to make sense. Like
Amy could have had a concussion there. Or broken her neck.
Yeah, it's slippy hard wood, you know? Anything could have happened. They're landed on a sword that's been thrown around the ship. But they pull Rory away and they all go under the deck, and the siren just kind of stands there like, oh. Wow. So everybody goes under into the wee cabin bit, where there's quite a bit of water. And they're standing around, and they're like, did you say your TARDIS is a ship, Doctor? And he's like, yeah, but not like a boat ship, but like a ship, yeah.
The TARDIS we never see on the ship. It's just off
We get one
somewhere.
shot. We get one shot of it at the very start before the captain's cabin. They're like epic music plays. It's like as they're looking, and then we don't see it again until later on. But so they're like, well, we're gonna take us to the ship. To your TARDIS, and the Doctor, I don't remember what he says, but he gets a gun in his face. And then we get a wee paragraph from Matt Smith that I hate. And I hate, one, the dialogue, and two, the performance here, which I think plays into just the dialogue being bad and Matt Smith doing his best to save it. Where it's a dialogue that for some reason is one of the first GIFs you find if you search up this episode in the wee GIF tab on Facebook, where Matt Smith is like, oh, you're big on guns, compensating. Have you ever... Freud would say you're compensating. Have you ever met Freud? No? Oh, comfy sofa. It's like the most... like... stupid like it's just a sentence because time travel, mention famous person, doctor, ha ha ha, everybody have a laugh at the weird funny spaceman.
Matt Smith is one of those doctors where he always mentions somebody famous he knows. It gets really old for a while, but I don't mind his performance here, because at the end he's like, oh, comfy sofa.
That's the bit I hate.
I don't mind it, because it kind of gives off the impression that the Doctor's really tired. He just wanted to go on holiday, and he thought a pirate ship would be a good holiday destination. But
I guess I don't get that vibe from it. For me, the vibe I got again was stage performance. Like, this is like panto, oh, did you ever meet Freud? Oh, comfy sofa, Oh, it's the way that he slugs his head back like that.
I think the actors kind of come across as really tired in this episode because this
Yeah.
is one of the final episodes of Series 6 they actually shot.
This is what I was
And-
saying about it feels like everybody's really forcing.
Yeah.
It feels like Matt Smith's trying too hard to be the Doctor.
And plus, obviously, this is a lot of late night shoots. This is like 4 o'clock in the morning, so
Yeah.
of course he's going to be exhausted.
Yeah,
So-
it's not bad still. Matt Smith is still a brilliant
Yeah.
Doctor. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. I love him as the Doctor. It's just I don't think this is his strongest episode. This isn't an episode I show to be like, look, this will convince you. Like,
To be fair, I don't think either of us remembered it was an episode until like they announced the Sea Devils were coming out, and we were like, "Oh, we need to do a pirate episode."
yeah,
Oh yeah, there's
exactly.
a Matt Smith pirate episode.
Followed by there's a Matt Smith pirate episode. But a guy, one of the pirates, goes, ouch, and they're like, what? And he's like, oh, a leech bit me, and everybody jumps out of the water as he pulls the leech off, and then he goes, I'm bleeding. And the Doctor has a fun line here where he's like, no, don't worry, we're safe. There's no way that siren can get through 3 solid inches of timber. Which was just a really line that I enjoyed. As then, of course, the siren appears. Why it didn't just appear anyway, because it's chasing Rory, I don't know. Why did it have to wait for somebody else to start bleeding?
Yeah, you notice when it appears in a new destination, it doesn't fucking move.
Yeah.
Except when it has to stand there, it moves out of the water. It shoots out of the water and stands there
Stands
on
still
a ship.
and then calls them over. Yeah. Yeah.
But like, you can move, lady. You can do some exercise.
Yeah. But why exercise when you can just tell them to come to you, you know?
Again, that's part of it. I don't feel intimidated by her because she doesn't
Yeah.
fucking move. You can
Yeah.
just pull the person back. But nobody ever does that because everybody dies.
Yeah. The pirate starts going over, and people do try to hold him back, which I missed the first time. It's just they don't try very hard. They kind of
Yeah.
go, oh, stop, no, stop. And then when he gets out of their grasp, they just don't take the extra step forward to grab him. They
Yeah.
just let him walk into the lady and die.
Like, he's a big guy. I feel like in a script, it would be in a direction, it would make more sense if he were
Like,
just struggling to pull him
Forced
back.
his way off, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. But they run away after the
Yeah.
guy dies, and the sirens are like, "Oh, okay." Like,
And then at the end of the scene, we're like, "Oh yeah, shit, Rory is in this scene as well. We have to write that he's trying to get over to her."
yeah, and the Doctor pulls him away, no bother. We then get the scene where they've run through into the next room, and the Doctor establishes that the siren can teleport through any pools of water, and they need to get to somewhere dry. In which Amy goes, "Oh, thank goodness we're not in the middle of the ocean." Phew. Ha ha ha. It was a pretty fun line. They start chatting a bit more. Rory has a great line where he goes, did you see your eyes? They were like silver lakes or something. Like he says, deep silver, whatever. In which Karen Gillan,
Which I guess implies that the siren is still in the other room.
yeah, must
Just
be.
standing
chilling there,
just T-posing.
yeah. Which Amy, Karen Gillan has this great line where she's like, no, stop it, you're already in enough trouble. But she kind of laughs over the line trouble. And to me, it feels
Yeah.
like it was a bit of a blooper where just Rory's dumb line actually made her laugh, but they kept it in because it was, a fun line read. Just a fun bit of levity in a episode that's trying way too hard to have levity.
Also, we talk a lot about the overuse of a sonic screwdriver. The Doctor uses a sonic screwdriver on the hat he's wearing, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it comes through water. Why does he need to use a sonic screwdriver to make that
Well,
distinction?"
maybe he's just using the sonic screwdriver to make sure the hat's a hat, and not some sort of alien sword. And maybe he already figured it out. You don't know why he's using the sonic screwdriver. He's just using it.
Yeah, it's been 5 minutes since he hasn't used a sonic screwdriver. He needs to pull it out now.
Yeah, it's an expensive prop. They they gotta pay off somehow. But they're like, okay, let's just move into this other room. We're just moving through rooms of the ship at this point. And there's, the captain is like, hey, no, we'll move through when I say we're going to move through. And Matt Smith's like, oh, you're worried because I'm wearing a hat now because I'm being like a captain. Ha ha ha. Which it was suddenly like a snap for me, and this must have been shot on a different day because suddenly Matt Smith's the Doctor again. And the way that he says that line to me is like, oh yeah, no, that's your Doctor. You're not trying too hard. You're back to being the Doctor. It's just these little changes in performances throughout the scenes, which there just must have been an off day. Maybe he was sick when they were shooting it. You know, there's a lot of water around. I'm sure it was freezing.
Yeah, I presume so as well. But yeah, that line in general is just to me. Like it's, I don't think Stephen.
Oh yeah, no,
Moffat's
the line
lines,
isn't great. It's Matt Smith's performance of the line. It's the way he's holding himself, the way that he reads the line. You know, it just it's his entire body language to me reads. Oh, suddenly you're back to being Matt Smith's Doctor, not comfy sofa. You know that to me isn't Matt Smith's Doctor.
Also, it could just be the editor chose a bad take for that previous line.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah,
Matt Smith might have given like 20 amazing reads of that line. The editor just chose one bad one.
Yeah, absolutely could be possible, but I don't know that. All I know is it's a bad line read, so I'm going to blame Matt Smith. You know, or, you know, maybe in his excellent performances they couldn't use it because the sound guy had the mic pointing the wrong way, or the gaffer had the lights off. I'm not going to blame those people because I wasn't there. You know. Yeah.
Turns out making television is hard.
Yeah,
there's so many things to consider.
Yeah.
especially on this budget and this time frame. Dear God, I don't envy anyone.
I do. I would love to have this job, but they, you know, they're like, let's go to the gun room. They walk through over to the thing, and they're like, oh, who's got the key for it? Oh, it's missing. And Matt Smith opens the door, and he's like, somebody's been here before. Dun dun dun. And they walk into room number 3.
Yeah, that line was read like Goldilocks. Somebody's been sleeping in my bed. You know, it's the same line.
Yeah. Oh yeah, who's been sleeping in my gun room?
Yeah.
Inside the gun room, they find a wee child hiding in a barrel of gunpowder, which is the captain's son. He had snuck aboard when the mother died. He had found out that the mother told the son that his dad was this great big Navy captain, and he had run off to go join the crew. You know, classic stowaway boy story for a pirate ship thing.
Him in that barrel is literally a reference to Treasure Island.
Yeah. It's you know, you've seen it before, and this is not really any different. We find out he's got a black spot on his hand, but he doesn't have any scars, and that's because he's got like a typhoid or some coughing disease. But
yeah, he's dying of coughs. That's what he's dying of.
He's a coffee boy. But there's the only thing that I want you to focus on moving forward, because we are now 13 minutes into this episode. Try and find a scene where the soundtrack just isn't constantly on.
That's fair, yeah.
Because so far we're 13 minutes in and it's not stopped.
Yeah.
It is.
I think that's just classic Murray Gold, I would say.
I've never noticed it as hard as I am noticing it in this episode, though. I'm focusing on it so much because it is just constant. There's never a moment to just breathe and let the the scene with the son and the father talking, because the father's got this great gravelly voice, you know, it's this really deep, like, you know, when did your mother die, what happened, sort of thing. And that scene with just silence, just the sound of the ship creaking in the ocean, you know, that would be way more impactful. But instead we've got violins going, we've got, you know, all these instruments, this huge orchestral sound. It's like it takes away from it.
That's fair. Yeah. Yeah, this episode isn't great in total, but we've somehow spoken about this for an hour so far. And we're only 13 minutes in.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, there's a lot to pick apart. So we then get a scene where they're discussing, you know, the boy didn't get a cut, how's he this? The only real thing that you figure out there is you get like a jump scare where her hand comes out from the water. And as Scott pointed out as we were watching it, of course it's the one scene where there's not music playing. Right after I point out, you know, there's music in every scene, we then get like a solid minute and a half of no music. I'm like, God damn it. But it comes back. Don't worry, it comes back.
The music in this scene, at least, is used for a jump scare. It kind
Yeah.
of it doesn't startle me because I see
No.
it coming.
Yeah,
it's
because
like, oh yeah,
it's not a scary jump scare. Like, but yeah, it's obscene, isn't it?
yeah,
We then get a really weird scene, I think, where the Doctor's back to not being the Doctor, when they're discussing going out and searching for plans, and he's kind of having a jokey with Amy, and Amy's like, "Oh, careful not to scratch yourself too hard, you might get cut." And the Doctor's like, "Yeah, we've all got to go sometime though." And then they both just look at Rory, and he's like, "What? What?" Like they're just like, "Yeah, Rory's gonna die. Who cares?" Like,
okay, I thought it was because I thought it was only Amy and Rory looking at each other, being like, "Okay, we
the
saw
doc-
the Doctor get shot 2 weeks ago."
okay, yeah, it could
Yeah,
it could be
it's
the impossible
it's tying
astronaut
in,
thing.
yeah,
We
it's
all have to
tying
go
into that
sometime.
arc.
It's just the fact that the Doctor walks right up to Rory then is like, hey, making out with a mermaid's not such a bad way to go, ha 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 ha, which isn't the Doctor.
No, I think the actual line is there's worse ways to go than being snogged by
Yeah.
a mermaid, which
Yeah.
is I think a reference to Amy being kind of like catty in this episode.
I guess it to me it feels like not a good line.
Yeah.
Not a line Matt Smith's Doctor. The
Yeah.
Doctor that doesn't like kissing, is gonna say.
That's fair.
But yeah, I totally forgot about the impossible astronaut whole thing until they do that big flashback at the end. I forgot that this was this arc, but I forgot it again just now in that scene. That makes sense. They're acting.
Yeah.
But the Doctor then goes out with the Captain to go to the TARDIS. The Captain leads the way, and we get a really awkward set of blocking where he almost falls on a nail, but like you're not sure what's happening because we just cut to a close up of his hand, and it looks like he's about to grab the nail, and then we cut to see that he's tripped. I was like, whoa, that was weird.
Yeah, it cuts to the nail, and the nail doesn't look that sharp in the first place.
It looks like it looks like it's the other, like not the pointy bit. It looks like it's the flathead bit that you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we don't get enough time to like if we saw that nail and maybe his hand approach above it, we'd be like, oh no, he's gonna fall on the nail or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no anticipation there. A scene I would compare this to is from A Quiet Place. You know that scene where the mother's walking down the stairs and there's a loose nail and she
Yes.
I think she steps on it. That's a great
brilliant
scene.
bit of tension building. Yeah. Crazy.
But here,
to be fair, Quiet Place definitely had a lot more time to block out that scene and get the shots needed.
Certainly.
This is done in 2 shots,
Yeah. Here it's just like, oh yeah, by the way, there's a nail here.
Yeah.
So glad I didn't cut myself on it.
It's also, I would have had the shots in the other order. I would have shown him falling down, having the Doctor catch him, then cut to the close-up where his hand's almost on the nail, and him going, whoa, that was close, rather than the hand going on the nail and then cutting to the Doctor holding him, because that's the reverse order of the events, But then they walk into the TARDIS suddenly. We don't get to see it on the boat, as you said before. We've seen it once, and nobody's near it. And now they're just cut to their inside.
Yeah.
And the Doctor does the whole bigger on the inside spiel.
Yeah, it's a TARDIS. It's a good looking TARDIS.
It's such a good TARDIS. I love this TARDIS. It's so good. Yeah.
But like, it doesn't feel like the TARDIS is part of this episode, even though it is obviously in this episode. It just feels like
they get rid of it in like 2 seconds, because they were like, how do we explain them not just flying away? Because this is a problem you could just fly away from.
Yeah, but you know what? Every Doctor Who episode,
Yeah.
they could always fly away from stuff, but they never do. It's always a conundrum in Doctor Who.
Which leads into, like, there's a line coming up where the Doctor's like, oh my god, the TARDIS has been zapped away. That's never happened. And I was like, shut up. That happens all the time.
Yeah, like in Voyage of the Damned, we watched the fucking TARDIS fly out in space and crash on Earth.
Like, literally in almost every episode, Doctor, your TARDIS gets taken from you. What are you talking about? So we then start cutting between 2 scenes, between the boy, Amy Roy, and a couple of pirates, and the Doctor and the Captain on the TARDIS. So we'll talk about the boy scenes first, because they're the worst. Where there's 2 pirates, one with very evil eyebrows, who are deciding, you know what, screw this, we're just going to up and go. And the boy's like, "Oi, you can't leave. My dad's in charge." And the guy's like, "Shut up, we're pirates." And he goes, "No, no, shut up. You're lying to me." And
Yeah,
then-
like little boy, you just met your father like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
All you've heard is stories about him. It's a bit.
yeah, but then, and did he not see the pirate flag when he stuck on the ship?
Yeah.
And but then the guy's like, "Haha, shut up, we're leaving." And then the boy pulls out a sword and he's like, "You're not leaving." And the guy's like, "You don't know how to use that sword." And he goes, "I don't have to." And he cuts the guy's hand, effectively killing him. Because obviously the sirens are going to take him. And, we find out later on it's not actually killing him, so the boy's not technically a murderer. But from the boy's perspective, he's 100% trying to murder this man. And he's just done that. And everybody around him, Amy and Rory, just watch. And they're like, "Cool, no bother. Good choice. You made the right choice there, boy. You're the hero right now."
Also, it's fucking making the situation worse because every time
the
somebody
sirens
gets
coming
cut,
to get them, yeah.
Yeah,
The
it's
boy's
like-
already got a black spot on him. Like,
yeah, like he's gonna kill him. So it's so fucking stupid. Like,
yeah.
and also, Amy and Rory don't do anything.
They
to
just
stop
stand
the
there.
boy.
They just stand there and don't say anything. They're just meat bags in this scene. But the other pirate runs out, and then those guys are like, "Oh no, the siren's coming to get us. Who saw that coming?" And that's basically the gist of their scenes. The captain and the doctor scenes a bit more fun. They're going about the TARDIS trying to get it to work. The captain figures out most of the controls because he's like, the basic ship stuff does what a ship does, doesn't it? Even if they're a bit more like, this is the atom whatever Jamaica, and the guy's like, steering wheel. Yeah. Which I enjoyed that. Then obviously the TARDIS starts going wrong. It doesn't start flying. There's some fun exchanges between the doctor and the captain, where the captain makes a smug look and the doctor says some banter. And then things start to go really wrong. Not sirens start going off, but explosions kind of start happening. Machines start crackling. Another word that accidentally rhymes goes here. And there's a fun line, one actual line in this scene that made me go, huh, where the doctor's like, "Oh, maybe we should try singing to it." And the captain goes, "Do you think that'll work?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know. It's never worked before." Meaning he has sung to the TARDIS before, trying to get it to work better.
Which I kind of buy,
Yeah, I 100% buy that. Yeah.
Especially the next episode where he wants to fuck the TARDIS.
The next episode's genuinely one of the best episodes of Doctor Who, though. It's so good. But
I don't feel any connection to any of his TARDIS stuff. It's like, why
Yeah.
is... It feels like the TARDIS should have gone the moment they landed on the ship, Because
Yeah.
right now it's like, why didn't the Doctor get everyone on board the TARDIS? So it'd make so much more sense. And why didn't the Doctor just stay on the TARDIS? Because then he could go to where it's been taken.
yeah, it should have been.
'Cause-
It should have been they got off the TARDIS and then it locks and flies away. But to be fair, that has happened so many times.
Yeah, but at least then it would make more sense rather than in the middle of an episode where it's like, oh yeah, we can't use the TARDIS anymore. We just spent 2 minutes trying to work it, but we can't use it now.
Yeah, and that plays into the next point I was going to bring up. We are now halfway through this episode. Is this not just the slowest paced episode ever? My God, nothing has happened, and it's taken forever.
It doesn't feel intimidating or anything like that. It feels like there's no stakes at all.
Yeah.
It's just going along.
It's the collection of scenes back to back that do technically tell a story.
and I don't even feel any connection between the dad and his son. That's not a storyline I particularly care about. It's just all meh. It's fine. It's fine. It's we're doing our best, but it's just nothing.
So, the Doctor and the Captain get, interrupted by the one pirate that actually managed to get away from the two pirates that got attacked by the little boy. And he's basically like, "Yo, I'm not injured." By the Doctor and the Captain give chase because he's got the supplies and he's also got the treasure. he runs into a room and lights a fire and burns his finger and then gets zapped away by the siren immediately. It's, they have a wee gunfight, which
Yeah.
it lasts like 2 seconds, and the doctor's got the great advice of don't get injured, and he repeats it twice, in case we weren't aware of the stakes.
I will say there's a pretty good shot of the door as the guy is getting taken
Yeah.
away by the siren. It reminds me of Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah, it's a fun shot. He gets taken away, they go inside, and they're like, wait, how did the siren get in here? There's no water. Because if we remember, the theory that they've got running is that the siren can move through basically any water, as that's what she's done so far. And then it's like, oh, wait, no, she doesn't move through water, she moves through reflection, because she only came through the water when it was perfectly still. Which I guess is fine. It's, it's a reason.
It takes a while for the doctor to explain that. He looks at the crown and he's like, but a minute passes before he's like, oh yeah, it passes through reflection instead.
There's a lot of shots of people looking at their own reflection.
Yeah. Like, move the pace a little bit. We understand what's going on. It's reflection. We don't need to have the doctor explain it, you know what I mean?
No, how does it work? But they're like, oh yeah, she comes through reflection. She could come through like any reflection, really. Wait, where's my medal that I have of a siren for some reason? Oh, my young boy's got it, and he's polishing it for some reason. So they go running all the way back to the wee lad, and the doctor takes it off him, and then he breathes on it to stop the polish, which, sure, an effective way. Why don't you just lick it? That'll do it as well.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Again, I don't feel any tension in the scene when they're running around trying to get to the boy. It's like, I just don't feel any tension at all. It's very strange. I can't explain it why. Just nothing to me.
Yeah, and what's interesting now is we're at the halfway point, and not a lot is happening story-wise, but we've got like 3 scenes left until the end of the episode. Like, the story wraps up suddenly really quickly, which I think is an interesting choice to make. It really just there's not much going on in this episode in general.
Yeah, it does feel like the first half is just empty, and the last half is like, oh yeah, here's more exposition about what's actually happening.
The first half is just, look, we wanted to have some fun on the pirate boat, and then the second half is like, and here's sci-fi. The next scene's really long, so I'm going to talk about this brief scene first. So the doctor and the captain then go back to destroying all of the treasure once they've, smudged up the medallion. And that's where the one line that made me laugh that I mentioned earlier is when the captain's like, stop, this is the Mogul of India's or whatever, and the doctor's like, good, I thought it could have been yours for a moment. It's just a very fun line, and they then proceed to throw out a bunch of stuff. They smash up all the windows and the glass and the mirrors, and then the captain looks at the crown and he's like, ooh, greed. It's fine, you need it in for the plot, obviously, and at least that one good line. It is just a series of events still happening in this episode.
In my opinion, destroying all the reflective surfaces doesn't make any sense, because then there's you're creating if you smash a window, you're creating 15 reflective surfaces instead. The glass is still going to reflect.
Smash the window, sweep up the glass, and throw it out into the ocean. You've got to do all these steps, but just saying smash it is a simpler way than smash everything or lick every window. We've got to smudge them up. We then get a relatively nice quiet scene with the captain and his son again. I still don't care about the son, but
that's my problem. I don't care about any of these characters, so it's just like, oh yeah, it's nice enough. At least we're trying to give them character development.
Yeah.
That's more than what the Chibnall era would do.
Yeah, but the son's basically asking the captain, like, well, why did you turn a pirate? Why did you do all this? Why are you now this bad guy? And the captain's like, shut up, and he walks away. It's a bit more delicate than that, but that's basically what happens. Meanwhile, Amy is sleeping, and we hear a voice, talking calmly and being like, oh, it's any minute now. And we then see the eye patch lady in the planks of the wood, and then she closes the door like she was looking in through the hatch, and you're like, oh, what's that got to do with the episode? It's got nothing. It's setting up for the big season finale with Amy.
Yeah, the big mid-season finale.
Yeah, the big story arc for this series, and it was brilliant. I loved the payoff this had so much.
Oh yeah, 100%. And also, if you notice, Amy is still wearing the same clothes she wore in the first episode of the season. That's because she's a doppelganger, like a clone. So that's a nice little bit of hint I'd never noticed when I first watched this.
That is a lovely little thing. It's interesting that neither the Doctor nor Rory noticed that she's wearing the same clothes all the time. But
I think Rory is also wearing the same clothes from the Texas adventure. So
I'd have to go back and watch it to find out. But I really enjoyed the pacing of that story arc with Amy. I thought the mystery each week really played into what's going on, and then that payoff was just absolutely. It's one of my favorite. I love that story arc so much.
And I think this season being, if you remember, it was split up over the summer, so it was 7 episodes in the spring and then more episodes in the fall. I think it really worked, but
the what?
They did. Sorry, the autumn. I knew you were going to catch me out in that. But yeah, I think having a mid-season sometimes works better than an overall season. Like you can conclude story arcs 7 episodes in rather than leading the whole story arc for the end. Like the whole hybrid story arc got tiring because every episode Peter Capaldi was like, "Oh yeah, you're a hybrid, aren't you?"
Yeah. See, I like mid seasons because it means you can get 2 story arcs in one season, doesn't it? Because you can cover one and then cover the other in the second season. It can be touch and go for me though, because you could end up with like Matt Smith's last season, which is really weird. And the release schedule for Matt Smith's last season, I remember just being mental. And it can get really complicated and strange when when just dumping all 13 episodes back to back is a way simpler.
Series 7 was a bit of a weird release schedule because it was 5 episodes in the fall of the autumn.
You watch too much American media.
It was 5 episodes in the autumn of 2012, and then 8 episodes in the spring. Oh, sorry, a Christmas special, and then 8 episodes in the spring with a new companion, Clara.
It felt like a new season, like.
Yeah, and then the anniversary special, and then the Christmas special.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was very strange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Doctor then goes and has another quiet conversation with the Captain. I'm enjoying the second half of the episode, this section anyway. The ending gets just a bit kind of whatever, but the more quiet, it's a given trope. I like it when characters talk. This little section where it's just the Doctor and the Captain on the boat looking up to the stars and basically talking about, one, you need a companion to be with you if you're doing all this traveling. It gets really lonely. Being the father you want to be, and fixing choices that you've made before in the past, and nothing's ever set in stone. It's a lovely little scene, I think.
I remember watching this back in the day and thinking the Doctor was thinking of Susan when he was talking to Avery in this part, thinking of his granddaughter and how he kind of abandoned her in London.
Yeah, but that's what she deserves because she flirted with a guy for like a whole 5 seconds. So,
Oh yes. Any inkling that somebody fancies someone means they must marry them. That's how it works.
Goodbye.
Women don't get a choice, do they?
No. The Doctor doesn't even give Susie the choice. I remember watching that episode. She's just with the guy. Then the Doctor goes, "I'm leaving you. Bye." And she's like, "What? What do you mean?" And then he goes off and gives an amazing speech. But it very much wasn't Susan's decision to stay back.
At least in the Peter Cushing remake of that movie, of that story, he didn't abandon Susan, mainly because she was like 12. That would have been very strange.
Yeah, and really dark if he abandoned her because to stay with a guy.
But yeah, it's a nice little scene, and you were saying earlier about how every scene is loud and has music. You're completely wrong.
This scene has music still.
At the very end, kind of.
I think it's got music pretty much throughout, isn't it? Yeah, it's got music throughout. It's like a sort of like
Okay.
violin, you know, but it's got music playing throughout every scene except for that 1 minute and a half where there was no music, you know.
Fair enough.
It doesn't need to be there. You didn't even notice it. Like,
That's the point. You don't notice it. It's complementary to the scene.
is it complimentary to the scene? No,
If you don't know, if I don't notice it, then
no,
yes.
you don't notice anything though. You're dumb.
True. Got a good point.
We then get a scene that I half like and half don't like. Storm comes in on the boat, and you know, it's very dramatic. The water's rushing. It looks, you know, I think this stuff actually looks good on camera. You know, the
Yeah.
more stuff you have moving around in the frame, the nicer the shot looks. That's why rain scenes always look incredible. And you know, they're trying to get the boat working in the ocean. The captain's yelling off stuff. Rory's got a few funny quips here and there. I like the bit where he calls them, like, he's like, "Get this thing done, you rats!" And Rory's there like, "I only heard rats." But eventually he calls the boy to get his jacket. Boy goes down, grabs the jacket, and the crown falls out. Oh no, greed has struck again. That is this captain's biggest sin, is greed. The siren comes out and kills the boy, or at least, you know, we're led to suspect.
Before the siren comes out, Phil, everybody just stands still, watching the crown tumble.
My thinking there is it's kind of like, you know, everybody's like kind of frozen, like, oh my god, knowing what's gonna happen. You know,
Yeah,
their bodies just
but
kind of
there's-
freeze up.
But we're still a good 30 to 45 seconds there where everybody's just standing around watching the boy almost get killed, you know?
Yeah.
They could have just, you know, just get the boy out of the way any minute.
I mean, there's a big storm happening. You might get blown off the ship, like what happens to Rory in a few minutes, you know. But the crown goes rolling, the siren comes out, it murders the boy. Which at this point, if you didn't know what the twist was, and you weren't the biggest fan of Moffat in general, I'm sure you would have thought that Moffat has ruined Doctor Who because he's just murdered a child. You know, because he liked darker Doctor Who, so him murdering a kid, definitely not out of his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what centered around the 50th anniversary was child
God.
murder.
Yeah. Christ.
But the child gets murdered, and Matt Smith finally has his doctor moment in this episode where I'm like, yes, he's back. Where he's shouting at the captain, being like, "You just couldn't let it go, is it? That's why you went a pirate, because of your greed, you know." I love Matt Smith shouting and giving a monologue. He does it in every episode. It's always brilliant.
Yeah, the anger behind his voice and eyes
Yeah.
are just very good. It's very good performance here.
Yeah. And then randomly Rory gets hit with a piece of wood and goes flying off the ship. It comes out of nowhere, but he just starts drowning in the ocean.
It's a recurring theme for Rory to almost die in every episode, almost.
Yeah, I love Rory. And then the doctor's like, "Well, we have to get the siren back," and everybody's like, "What are you talking about?" And I guess the only justification I could come to, which quickly gets ruined, is that the doctor's like, "We'll just give him a quick death. You know, drowning's a horrible way to go. At least this way it'll be quick, and it's the best we can do to save him." But the doctor has seemingly figured out that the siren
Yeah.
isn't killing folk, because he just comes up with the plan that, okay, we've also got to prick our fingers so that we'll get taken, because maybe she's not actually killing anybody, even though he's got no reason to think that. He just, oh yeah, of course she's not killing anybody, you know.
Yeah, the idea just comes out of absolutely nowhere, and there's no scene where you think that Matt Smith's doctor has considered this possibility. Yeah, it's a recurring theme in Doctor Who that the Doctor makes a plan without consulting with anyone or explaining it to anyone. Curse of Fenric, which is what we're doing next month, has a similar moment, and that's used to great effect there. But here is just out of nowhere.
It's just, he just is like, oh yeah, no, she's a good guy, she's not killing anybody. He's got no reason to think that.
It's like the Doctor just looked at his watch and thought, "Oh shit, we have 15 minutes left of the episode. We need to wrap this up."
Yeah. And that's why I half like it and half don't. You know, I like the Matt Smith moments. I like the cinematography in this scene, actually. But that moment where he just figures out everything's okay, it kind of ruins the scene for me, because it comes out of
Yeah,
nowhere.
like explain it to Amy and be like, "Oh shit, I just remembered. I met this hologram like decades ago, and I remember her helping. She's a nurse. Just explain it." Kind of.
Yeah. it's really hard because I can't think of a scene that would happen where the Doctor would find out that she's not an evil siren, because they have the issue of that she doesn't talk. She just screams, and when she screams, she looks like an evil monster, you know?
Maybe the Doctor could have had like lines earlier on where he's like, I vaguely remember looking at something like that before. I can't
Maybe
place
he just scans her with the sonic, and then he goes, "Oh my God, she's actually an android. The sonic screwdrivers told me. Oh wait, maybe they're okay. Maybe if she's a robot, maybe there's a chance that she's not killing them. You know, and you know, you're using the sonic screwdriver as a get out of jail free card, but at least he does something other than stand there and go, actually everything's fine.
I mean, his solution is, oh yeah, just trust me and almost
let's commit suicide. Yeah, let's all commit suicide now. So they wake up on an alien ship, and the Doctor basically goes, hey, it's kind of like, you know, they've met in the same, like, universe at the same time, sort of, like, multi-dimensional thing. And Amy went, oh, cool, I get it. And he went, good, because it's actually, it's nothing like that. It's just a Doctorism I really enjoy. And they go around exploring, and they find these alien skeletons. And I quite like the look of these aliens. I think they look pretty groovy. As far as alien skeletons go. But they're covered in this like slime and stuff, and it would find, and you know, they're like, what killed these aliens? Did the siren murder all these aliens? And the Doctor, he gives them a quick scan. He's like, oh no, it's human bacteria. They caught a cold, you know, because obviously it wasn't a virus that they had ever been, you know, with, and then they didn't get their immunity jabs. Their biological systems are different, so it murdered them up. And it's a sci-fi concept that I don't think is used enough times in sci-fi shows. It's used every now and then in particular shows. I think Star Trek probably does something with it. This is Doctor Who's use of it. I cannot think of anything other off the top of my head.
There's an episode in the William Hartnell era called The Ark, which deals with a concept much like this, where a society has outgrown the human cold, and then suddenly Dodo comes along and
Futurama has an episode with it where Fry has the cold, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, this went extinct so long ago," you know.
Futurama has explored all the great sci-fi concepts.
Yeah, I think it's a really good concept, because you know, if you're exploring space and you're going to other planets, there's going to be different bacteria your body's never been exposed to.
There's also an episode of Torchwood where everybody comes, it's like a historical thing, and everybody comes from the past, and they're bringing in plague and all that.
Nice.
It's not really explored with that much in the episode, but it's there.
It's there, yeah, it's there. It's a pretty fun idea. And then, as you said, we're suddenly watching K9 when the Doctor puts his hand on one of the aliens, and he's like, "Ew, bogies," and he then rubs it on Amy. As they walk away, it's a line to make kids laugh, isn't it? You know. Yeah,
it's a very. I think kids need to laugh, because I can't imagine kids being that entertained by this pirate adventure. To be honest,
it depends. You know, if a kid's really into pirates, you know, I think that there's something about swashbuckling that you either really like or really just don't care for.
I think I'm in the latter category.
I quite like a swashbuckle. I like saying it. It's a fun word to say.
Swashbuckle.
The Doctor and everybody else come walking into a big warehouse, basically, where everybody that's been taken is sitting on sci-fi beds. Some of them are floating in the sky. Some of them are not floating in the sky. It's a fun design of a wee, very much shot in a warehouse.
This was obviously shot near the end of the season. You can tell that they kind of lost their budget near the end. They spent too much money on filming in America or whatever. Yeah.
But I will say they must have definitely shot this, you know, one during the day, and two when everybody was feeling much more refreshed, because suddenly everybody's performances aren't as tired seeming. You know, everybody's back to being really good. And you know, the pirate captain calls out for his son, Amy calls out for Rory, and the Doctor calls out for the TARDIS in a great moment, and he gives the TARDIS this huge hug, which plays into the next episode when she becomes a lady. But you know, they start looking around at the bodies. They do something to Rory's tubes, and the siren calls. They all hide, and they're like, "Oh my God, what's she doing? What's she do? Oh, she's sedating them with anesthetic, you know." And then the pirate tries to shoot her. She screams. The Doctor sneezes. She tries to set the Doctor on fire. Uh,
which, which is very bizarre, you know.
Seems
Oh, yeah.
like a really extreme thing and a dangerous thing to do when you've got like oxygen tanks. Oxygen's extremely
Yeah.
explosive,
But dude, that's what you do in hospitals. Somebody has a cold,
yeah.
you just
Burn 'em.
kill them.
Burn him. Yeah, yeah. He blows into a tissue and she burns the tissue instead. And basically, this is where they figure out that she's a doctor, not a siren. She's like an android trying to save people, and she's not letting them touch Rory. And Amy's like, "Hey, but I'm his wife. I should be allowed to do that." And the siren said, like, "Sign this consent form," and which Amy like does a sci-fi thing, sticks her hand over her hand, and the special effects go blue. And then the siren's like, "Yo, cool, peace, I'm out." And leaves them with Rory and the body as he starts to, they turn off the machine and he starts what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word where you're like your body's shaking?
Convulsing.
He starts convulsing in pain, and they turn it back on. It turns out he's drowning, and the machine is keeping him alive. As much as this is very much a lower budget than the rest of the episode has been, because they're now just in a warehouse with lights, I think I prefer it to most of the boat stuff.
Yeah, just the idea of the villain turning out to just be wanting to help humanity is something that's happened quite a bit in Doctor Who. If you look at The Empty Child, where the particles first contact
Try to help
human
them, and they don't know how to help them. Yeah.
And we just listened to a story, Girl Deconstructed, in one of the Ninth Doctor audio box sets, where they take the little girl away when she wants to go away, and we just get confused. That's another good story there.
Yeah.
That's a good little theme, I think. And my question to you is, how they just got onto this facility? Mm-hmm. Why weren't they sent to one of the beds as well?
I thought this, and why were they just left to like sit on the floor? And my only headcanon reason I could come up with is the siren took them and then went, "Oh, they've just got a prick on their finger. Who cares?"
Yeah, my presumption is there's no beds left, but at the same time, the Doctor wouldn't have known that.
Yeah. It's convenient. There's no beds left. I think it would have. They just don't have time. I think it would have led to an interesting second half if suddenly they're trapped in these beds, and they can't get out without activating, and they've got to try and figure their way out through that way. But that's like a whole episode, not the last 10 minutes to wrap up the plot, So we then run into our kind of climactic ending, where they wake Rory up and, hooked up to the machine, so he's talking to them as if nothing's wrong. And they're like, "Yo, you're going to die, by the way." And he goes like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, you're definitely drowning, so you can either stay here forever or drown."
Yeah, I was expecting Rory to be like, "Again?" Because he's already died like twice at this point. He's going to die like 5 more times.
No companions had it rougher than Rory, but he remembers, as you said, he actually remembers he's a nurse. A companion remembering their day job? Never. And he's like, "I can walk you through resuscitating me, CPR, basic, stuff. It won't be too hard. I trust you can do it." And they have this big sob. The Doctor goes over to the pirate captain and he's like, "Yo, your boy's got like typhoid fever. He'll die if he leaves this ship." And the captain's like, "Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna stay on this ship with my boy then, because I can't go back to England. I'm a wanted pirate." And the Doctor's like, "Oh, sound sick. Okay, problem solved." Which basically wraps up their story and is like, because this guy obviously he went missing after he stole all that treasure, and Doctor Who's conclusion is, he went off to go fly an alien spaceship, and 100% would have died in space because he's no idea what he's doing. Yeah.
I'm surprised that Big Finish hasn't done a spin-off of some sort for this character. It feels like perfect spin-off material.
We need to send them an email. The Doctor and Amy carry Rory into the TARDIS, where she starts performing CPR for quite some time. And it falls into an issue with me that often happens whenever you've got CPR shown on camera, because you cannot do CPR on a live human being.
Yeah.
Because you can, bruise ribs, break ribs. You could cause them to have a heart. So many things could go wrong if you do CPR. So you have to do like fake CPR and not actually put any impact on the chest. And the way that they've shot it is so Amy's clearly just doing it on like a dummy or something, and you're just seeing like her close up, and Rory's close up, and the doctor's close up. I think the performances are all stellar. It's just the way that it's shot to me. I'm like, oh, this is kind of, not the best way to shoot it. But that's the issue with shooting CPR scenes. They're always a nightmare.
My issue with this scene is I don't care because I know Rory's going to survive. Even when I watched this episode for the first time, I knew he was going to survive. So I didn't give a shit.
That was why, right? That's why I love, and it's why I love Clara's death. Because Clara's death is also just in a random episode. It comes out of nowhere and she dies. And I remember being like, what? What? You just killed off a companion. This is episode like 6. What do you mean you've killed a companion? I love it. That's why I think Clara's death hits so hard. This one, there's not that dramatic. The music's like building up, and then starts to fade out as you think Rory's dead, and then boom, kicks back in as Rory coughs up the water again.
Also, I'm thinking of this as either the doctor should know CPR, or he has some kind of device that could get the water out of Rory's system. Like, does it not feel like...
the doctor's been pretty chill with Rory dying this whole episode, honestly.
like the doctor has a fucking magic wand. Just get the water out of there.
I suppose, but that's less dramatic, isn't it?
Also, does the TARDIS not have any like life support system? It feels like it should do, because it has a pregnancy test system.
Yeah, but I guess pregnancy test, you just got to scan the body to see if there's the embryo growing, he's going to scan, there's definitely water in his lungs. But eventually Rory coughs up the water, he comes back alive, and everybody's like, oh, Rory, you're alive, huzzah. And we cut to the pirates, and they're flying away on the spaceship, and that's their happy ending. Weirdly, all of the pirates are out of their beds, which I was figuring they wouldn't be able to do without dying. Shouldn't they all have to stay in the bed to be?
A lot of them only had cuts.
Cuts and scratches, but the boy's out of the bed, and he's got like typhoid.
He's got a life support system though. He's got a little tube on his neck.
Okay, I just didn't notice that. As they fly off into a sun and 100% die. As the doctors then, they're flying away in the TARDIS and we're wrapping up. And, he says, good night, Amelia. And Amy goes, hey, you only call me that when you're worried about me. And he's like, oh, I'm always worried about you. Ha ha ha. And then we get a flashback with Amy and Rory looking at the Doctor's death, where he gets shot by the impossible astronaut in America. They burn his corpse, Qui-Gon Jinn style, and then Rory's like, we can't tell him that. That's his future, We've just got to go to bed and let what will happen, happen. And they go off to bed, and we see that the Doctor's been scanning Amy, and she is testing positive and negative for pregnancy. Her pregnancy is in flux. Which is setting up for the big arc where it turns out that she's been in like the incubator this whole time, and this is like doppelganger Amy, and this whole big thing. And we get the next time trailer for the next episode, which is just an amazing episode and a really good trailer. And that wraps up this episode of The Curse of the Black Spot. So, Scott, what did you think about The Curse of the Black Spot?
Curse of the Black Spot is one of those episodes where it's neither good or bad. It's like a Schrodinger's cat kind of episode. It's just watchable and mediocre. It reminds me of every Chibnall era episode where there's a decent concept in there somewhere, but it doesn't quite go the full way.
Yeah, there's good moments in a forgettable episode.
Yeah,
I think this is like a 6 out of 10 episode. It's like slap bang in the middle average. It is very much perfect for episode 3. It is a regular adventure, not much stakes, not much going on, but some fun character moments, and plays into the larger plot overall. Lays some decent groundwork for that. It is forgettable though. Like, I forgot this was even an episode before we covered it, and I'll probably forget it's an episode in 2 months' time. You know?
Yeah, the only reason we did this episode was because Legend of the Sea Devils is coming out in a few days.
It's Sunday, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason why I picked out this episode, because if Legends of the Sea Devils didn't exist, we'd never get to this episode, to be honest with you.
Yeah. It's such a random episode for us to cover, you know, but it's pirate themed, and we've been on a pirate themed kick because, you know, obviously Sea Devils, and now this, and then Legend of the Sea Devils coming up. I cannot wait to be done with the ocean.
Well, we're doing Curse of the Fenric next month, which I picked out before I knew Sea Devils are coming back, and that's very sea themed. But
we're never done. We're never going to be done with the ocean. But I think that wraps us up. So you could set. What did you think about the Curse of the Black Spot? Did you remember this was an episode? Is it for somehow your favorite episode of Doctor Who?
That would be very surprising.
Yeah. You must have terrible taste if so. You can send us an email at whowatcheswhopod@gmail.com. And in the meantime, you can find us on Facebook at Who Watches Who, on YouTube at Who Watches Who, on Twitter at Watches Doctor, and this podcast is available in audio form wherever you listen to podcasts, and in video form. Hello, on YouTube at just go to Who Watches Who. Our SEO is fantastic on YouTube. It's my only channel with good SEO. My other channel, Mess, incredibly hard to find, but you should definitely check it out. I make short films. I got a new short film out. It's a really good one.
Every time I try to look for your channel, it's a nightmare.
Yeah. If our URL, if you go to youtube.com/messyoutube, it'll take you right to our chat. Like, that's our URL. But actually searching us into the YouTube search bar, best of luck. I swear, we must be like shadow banned, and I have no idea why. But yeah, that, you know, you can find my stuff there, youtube.com/messyoutube. You can follow me on Twitter at cloth223. What else have we got? What have we got coming up next week, Scott?
Next week we are doing Legend of the Sea Devils. It's the episode that comes out in 2 days. That's why we're doing this episode, and yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Hopefully, it's the second to last Jodie Whittaker episode, and that's going to be interesting to see if any story arcs get wrapped up.
They won't.
Maybe?
They won't. No. My question for you, and this is more of a question for me than it is for the audience. Are we going to be releasing this episode on the Sunday or the Monday after, or are we going to wait till Friday to release it?
Wait till Friday, because this is off-camera stuff. But maybe we're going to do like a proper breakdown of it, like we just did with.
Do scene by scene? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Depending on time,
yeah.
but.
Yeah. No, we'll do it into a full big episode. Yeah, because our regular Flux series, we just kind of gave our opinions on it, because obviously going through into our deep dives would be impossible to do that for the, you know, the workload that we had gotten for Flux. But yeah, we could break that down. Yeah, so look forward to the Legend of the Sea Devils next, and until then, bye.
Bye.